take care.
Let them come in here.
Yes, they're joining.
They're joining?
Yes, start a video.
Which video?
Keep your participants tab open so you can see.
Thank you for the quick turnaround, Rahul and Palki.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very clearly. I think we were trying to use
wonderful.
very advanced software which wasn't doing the trick. We were trying to use a broadcast engineering which is used by all TVU networks, which requires a lot of bandwidth, and apparently not many of us are equipped with Mbps pure line. Zoom takes a lot less bandwidth. So great. I'm just waiting for Palki came in and she walked out. I mean, she couldn't stay on. I think we should have just recorded all the sessions to be safe rather than done it live.
Well, I mean, you've got to take the rough with the smooth and the predictable with the unpredictable. It's okay.
Yeah. So we've recorded some sessions. We recorded some sessions before with CTOs of 3 different companies.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And we recorded a session with somebody from Atlanta, and we'll have to figure out for tomorrow. And we have an audience out there of almost 300 getting a little irate.
Oh, I see. Is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So great. And so my broad, trend of conversation is going to be: is it time for the news industry to reinvent itself? This time of pause, going away from those, as Bhupendra said, the Ravanization with 10 heads and shouting matches, going back to basics of news journalism, which is reporting and which is. Yes, have some debate shows, but what will prime time be like going ahead? Yeah. So is it time as a journalist to rethink everything? We've got this time. Or are you all happy with the format that we've been following so far? And, there was a time when there was a lot of sanity to news. When we used to once a week, Friday evenings, used to gather around a TV set and watch The World This Week. That was a connection, and Doordarshan and All India Radio and BBC, which we used to watch or listen to. Now there's so many voices, so many voices, some 470 news channels. I'm just hoping everyone can come around quickly enough. Hi, Rahul. Thank you. Yeah, so we are ready to roll now. I think everyone's here.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Great. Yeah, so are we ready to roll, guys? I'll just check with the team and then we'll roll. Are we ready to roll?
Hey Rahul, how have you been? Hi Palki, how are you? Hi Kishore.
Morning.
Very good. How are you? Morning.
So
What's up?
The anchors on the show, the anchors can just decide to take over, and then Anil's going to be wondering what happened to his show.
I was wondering how Anil will make space for himself because we are also used to talking.
That's okay. You're not going to talk. You're not going to talk like usual. There's going to be no difference at all. It's going to be prompting you all to, debate amongst yourselves and come up with new answers. So I've been around 40 years. I think Palki won't even be 35. So longer in the industry, almost 40 years in the industry. Beginning as a reporter, reporting on the Ranji Trophy way back in 1980. So as a cricket reporter, but coming back again now. So let's begin. I think we are live. Television news in India has been in the news in recent times for all the right reasons and all the wrong reasons. While it has done a yeoman's service in keeping the public informed during the initial days of the lockdown, during the COVID period, and and then during the opening up. In recent times, and also it was caught on the wrong foot during COVID times for somewhat of unbalanced reporting. And more recently, it has come in the news because of advocacy journalism or tabloid journalism. Some people have started to call the genre as views TV rather than news TV. Journalists are playing investigator, judge, and executioner. This has been questioned by all quarters, while a section has also applauded that kind of journalism that's beginning to spread across different networks. And even more recently, the genre has seen a blackout of viewership ratings following acquisitions of TRP manipulations by certain channels. And following that, channels have been finger pointing at each other, laying the blame on each other for the misdemeanors. The news industry appears to be fissioned into two groups, one with the backing of mainline TV news channels, and the other with smaller news channels as its members. The slugfest has resulted in the news channel genre once again coming into the limelight as the charges and counter-charges have been played out during primetime news. Many have called this one of the darkest phases in the history of India's television news genre. Of course, the darkest phase was during the emergency in the 70s, when newspapers were gagged, journalists caged under an authoritarian government. What is the way forward for the industry? Is primetime news about debates, shouting matches? Apart from debates and shouting matches, can primetime news go deeper into covering what's really happening in India? Should this pause period be a time when we re-examine what primetime news is all about? Do we need to have a lot more analysis of developments by specialists and experts? For some channels, primetime is responsible for as much as 50% of their overall revenues. Is this high dependency of a single primetime slot good for the news business, for revenues? Is it good for the entire news business? Do we need to redefine news? Should there be a more stringent self-regulatory content code be put in place by the news industry itself before outside forces come in and start dictating what news should be? Anyway, questions have already been asked whether the news media in India is being dictated to today rather than being the fourth estate, the fourth pillar, which actually questions everything that's happening. Can the Broadcast Editors Association play a larger role? Should journalists be given more teeth? Who is the fourth estate serving? Viewers, citizens, or is it certain forces? To answer these questions and many more, possibly which they may hurl up and may hurl at me too for being so very bold and blatant in what I've just said, we have a fabulous panel of speakers. And these are journalists in their own right, very own rights. There's Kishore Ajwani, the managing editor of News 18 India. Welcome, Kishore.
Thank you.
I have Rahul Kanwar, the news director of India Today and Aaj Tak. Welcome, Rahul. Yeah. Palki Sharma Upadhyay, the executive editor of WION. And Palki, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Then there's Rahul Shivshankar, the editor-in-chief of Times Now. Rahul, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, welcome. So I've put forth a lot of questions. I'd like, Rahul, you're appearing first in my screen. I'd like you to begin by reacting to what I've just said.
There are two Rahuls. Which one?
Rahul Shivshankar.
Well, look, there are 3 or 4 issues. I think we're confusing 3 or 4 issues here. One, of course, is the format on news TV at prime time, which is separate from some of the other issues you've raised about manipulation and the cross-holding culture in news TV. I think the emphasis for too long has been on editors. I think that a lot of control is wrested away from editors on what they can actually play. I'm not saying that management tells you what to play, but I think that there are extraneous pressures. For example, there is a manic machine in television called the TRP, right? I'm not trying to pass the buck, but you have to live with the reality of what we have today, which is an unviable business model. And till you're wagged by the TRP tail, the news dog is going to have to follow. And that's the problem. TRPs are intrinsically linked to advertising. Advertising, of course, is linked to how much you're watched. So it's a vicious cycle. Now, if you can address that, if you can insulate the news business from manic TRP pressure and fluctuations on a weekly basis, editors in edit meetings will be able to say, hang on, I don't really have to play, and this is no prejudice to anyone, the Sushant Singh Rajput story for 6 weeks because I really don't believe in it, or I don't believe it's the lead headline of the day. And you can then start looking at other news which might be impacting more than one family or a whole group of individuals, impacting the country. So that's the second level that you've got to look at this. Thirdly, I think the entire system from BARC to NBSA, it's all too convoluted. There's not much transparency. It all needs to be pulled down. It all needs to be brought down. I think we really need to start looking at where we are coming from. I'll tell you, a lot of what is happening today is happening because I feel that certain media houses came out of the blue and started stepping on the toes of other media houses. And that sort of got everyone split into camps. This is my personal view. But I'm here to actually speak really the honest truth. And I don't believe that we can be cagey about what we say. I think we have to be dead honest. I'm very tired of people constantly pointing fingers at editors, suggesting that editors don't have moral integrity, that they don't have rectitude. If I can sit opposite proprietors or those who have expectations and tell them that, look, this is the news I want to do, but it conflicts with your outlook on revenue, then if I had the authority and the power and could pull that punch beyond a point, of course one does, but beyond a point, then I think you can hold us to account. But I think here, just asking questions of editors and not the business heads would be wrong. It would be to single out business heads. Secondly, and I'm going to finish in the next 60 seconds. Secondly, I think that this crisis that is being made out to be about various news channels attacking others, etc., this has happened even in print, okay? And it continues to happen. And it's just a little more sophisticated because of the nature of the medium. You can't really go onto national TV and start, firing your bazooka at the TV channel next door. So it's done in different ways. I know that various newspapers have people who look at news media and call themselves analysts, and they comment about other people's work, etc., blindly ignoring some of the stuff that goes on within their own organization. So there's a great deal of hypocrisy. And now you have a digital universe where you have self-styled non-journalists who are commenting on other people's journalism, and they're doing it because they want to bring down traditional media so that the revenue pie can shift to them. So it's very transparent. It's actually sophomoric, and I think people need to grow up.
Absolutely. So Rahul, it's over to you now, the other Rahul Kanwal.
I think it's very convenient not to take responsibility for what you do. I think that's wrong. I mean, ultimately, as a broadcaster, as a journalist, as a human being, you have to believe in what you do, and to just turn around and say it's not in my control. And I don't say this in reference to anyone, but every story that you run, every show that you do, meetings that you do, you should do what you believe is right. And if you think that what you're being asked to do or what you're having to do is not what you want to do, then you should not do that job. It's as simple as that. I mean, to say that there are pressures of ratings, I mean, there's always pressure of ratings and there's always pressure to win, but there's no pressure to sell your soul. And there's no pressure to be in bed with the devil. And
Rahul, I'm going to interrupt you here. You've been on the top of the charts forever. So you haven't faced that pressure.
No, but can I present it differently? I say that what is most important? I mean, if making money is more important, then there are different ways and you can make money, and with much less stress than the stress that all of us deal with. And if there is no conviction in what you're saying, and if you don't believe in the stories that you're saying, or let's assume that you believe you're doing story X and that's not a story and yet you have to do it, I think that's gross dereliction of responsibility. I mean, you shouldn't do it. I mean, if you don't think that's a story, then why are you doing the story? You shouldn't do the story, do something else. And I think that change must come from within. People must do what their conviction tells them to. So just to sit back and say, I'm not powerful, I can't do anything, and it's beyond my control, that to my mind is too convenient, and it's, you just can accept it, there's nothing you can do. Whatever
So you believe in the NCB investigation of the Bollywood drug, of them being involved in drugs? Because I don't know, there were so many other things happening in India at the time. We just chased that one story, the SSR story, then Riya Chakravarti, she made it to the headlines, then everything that happened. So you believed as a group that that is something which is more important than what's happening in different places in India with citizens. Because everyone came out as a herd and it was a herd mentality.
No, sure. So first and foremost, it's not the only story we did. We did lots of other stories as well. At that time, the economy crashed about 23.9%. We did that story. Our COVID coverage still continued. So it's not as if we did that story alone. And yes, it's a story. And to the extent that it's a story, we told the story. We didn't make up facts. We didn't make things out to be in a way that we knew wasn't true. And we didn't lie and distort deliberately. And we were true to our conscience, to the best manner possible, and that's what we did. And it's not the only story we did. To the extent that people across the country were talking about that story, and you got for the first time the Narcotics Control Bureau calling these big Bollywood stars in for questioning. It is a story. Of course, you have to do the story.
Yeah, but I was watching one of your journalists saying that there's no there's no plane available for her to be brought back tonight. I mean, is that the coverage that should be done on national television? That Deepika is not being able to book a flight. I mean, is that what's I watched one of the.
Sure. So I am not even disputing that this could have happened. It's possible that you watched it on our channel. You could have watched it elsewhere too. And that's also not something that I'm terribly happy about. But I'm saying that even then, that's not the only story we were doing. We did multiple other stories. And the fact is that you stay open to where you think things went wrong and you try and correct. And you correct from within. You don't sit back and say, I'm virtually like a puppet. I'm actually an editor, but not really. There are too many conflicting factors around me which I can't deal with, and therefore, and there's nothing I can do. I don't think that. So if there is a mistake, you acknowledge that there's a mistake. You try and see what's the best that can be done to fix it, and you don't repeat that mistake. And you do the content that you believe in. If you don't do the content you believe in, having to say and do things which you don't believe in, don't do the job. I mean, there's so many other ways in which.
Actually, Rahul, I think you're being a little reactive. I think you've got to look at it in the larger perspective. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean for you to think that people don't think that they don't take responsibility for what they do. Obviously, everyone does. I wouldn't have done, let's say, the Sushant Singh Rajput story with the conviction that you guys also did if we didn't think it was a story. So let's not reduce this to a very simplistic sort of binary. I was talking about the news industry as a whole, where we are one part of one cog in a very large wheel. That's what I was trying to say. So I know where this is going to go. So let's not do that. I think we really need to recognize that there are a lot of other factors that collide in newsrooms when decisions are made, and one shouldn't sort of look away from that. I think let's be honest about these things. That's all.
Yeah. So also one more thing about Kishore, your perspective. Palki, I'll leave you for the last, the best for the last. No, with no malice towards the other males on the panel, please. No offense meant to them. Kishore, your perspective on what has been spoken so far.
I think it's somewhere in between what the two Rahuls have said. After all, it's a screen, Anil. It's a screen, and you're talking of prime time. It's a screen in your home.
Kishore, can you be a little louder? I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
now
hear
better.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I was a bit further from the laptop. So I'm saying it's a screen, and when we say prime time, it's a screen when people have done what they've done in the day. They know what's happened. We're all informed, and most of the viewers are informed by many means during the day. So it's not that when you sit down at the end of the day, some people and many people would like to have views of half a dozen people about certain things, and that's how it goes. चाय की दुकान पे भी तो जाते हैं ना लोग. सुनने के लिए. You don't go and tell them कि बॉस ये चाय की दुकान में ये बात क्यों कर रहे हो, ये वाली करो. It's a screen. You got a remote. You don't agree. I mean, I was not into that story personally in my show, but okay, there are shows, and if you don't agree with that show, switch on to another screen. And who's holding a gun to your head to watch only news channels? I'm sorry, but whatever we do, Rahul, Palki, and all of us, we do with what we believe we should be doing. And there are views which are, I mean, Anil, you don't agree on certain things. There are other people who would not agree on things that you might agree on.
Absolutely.
But that's there in all cases. Why should we continue to believe that news television का ये format है, ये ऐसे ही होना चाहिए? It should be a headlines and the top story of the day. That should be political. वो ये, फिर उसके बाद ये, but then we go on to a tail piece. No, we take a story in certain shows and we get some talking heads and we talk about it. People do watch. Yes, they do. And I mean, अगर ऐसा नहीं होता, इतनी सारी political parties, I'm talking political stories, so many political parties, the lower rung leadership, they want to be on these shows to take a step up in their careers. So there must be some viewership to it, no? There must be.
Kishore साहब सुनिए मेरी बात. हम लोग conscience keeper होना, हमारा, what is our role as media? Are we a medium to communicate? Are we a medium to help people as a stepping stone? Are we a conscience keeper of those in power, of those who can, of the common people who are what we are trying? What are we? Who are we as the news television business?
No, even a newspaper has got 16 to 20 pages. Na? Middle pages bhi hote hain. You are talking only of the middle pages. कि इसमें इसका opinion, ये editorial क्यों है? I'm saying back pages bhi to hai. So what are we? I mean, a newspaper may be defined by certain opinion columns that you have in the paper, or similar with TV, and all these primetime shows that you're talking about. More and more, they're now identified with the anchors.
Absolutely.
Right? So what are we is now for that anchor and for that show. Okay, there are media vehicles which are just one-man vehicles. We're not talking of those, right? We're talking of primetime shows. There's Rahul's show, and Rahul's show Rahul Kanwal's show. It's Rahul Kanwal and his opinion and how he conducts it and how he engages viewers. Same with Rahul Shivshankar. So I mean, I don't know. It started off with हम लोग कुछ गलत कर रहे हैं, you know.
I'm just throwing up some thoughts. Is it time for us to re-examine the way we do primetime news? That's all I'm saying. Palki.
Yeah, I think all of us re-examine it every day, every evening.
In terms of stories, or in terms of format, or in terms of the conversations, or in terms of the guests, in terms of...
I think in all aspects.
Okay.
I mean, I hope I'm
speaking for there's a TRP monster. We've got to get the ratings. We've got to get the ratings. We've got to track it. If the news is going in that particular following that story, we've got to follow it. Or do we, there was a time, if I go back in time, there was Blitz, which was tabloid journalism. Rusi Karanjia used to edit that publication. And yes, publications. Okay. And when you had a Blitz followed a particular school, Indian Express followed a particular, during the emergency, took a certain tack of going against those in power. So what I'm getting at is that, but there were thousands of other newspapers who gave you news.
Yeah, and
people news.
But we are talking of television here, right? So it's a different medium. Rusi Karanjia, you might be knowing, जो Princely State को जब integrate करना था, the princes had a conference at Taj in Mumbai. Rusi Karanjia went dressed as a prince, and covered that what the princes were talking about. That would have been great television. in these times, right? कोई reporter hidden camera लेके अंदर ही घुस गया कि प्रिंसेस क्या बात कर रहे हैं कि इंडिया में कैसे इंटीग्रेट होना है. That was considered tabloid journalism at that time.
Okay, great. So let's get Palki's view now on this.
I have so much to say, and I've not even covered the story you guys have talked about. But I have covered similar stories in the past. Now I have the luxury to actually decide what I want to do, and I do that. We talk about TRP. We know that is the currency in today's business, but we know that the system is flawed, and the sample sizes are very small. All of us know this, and yet some of us are dictated by what happens. I think the flaw of the system cannot be blamed on the editors alone. I agree to that extent with Rahul Shivshankar. It is the viewers, because this is a country that watches those shows. There are those numbers to prove, and yet as editors, one cannot abdicate the responsibility that comes with the position and say that that I have this mandate, but I also have to take care of the business as well. I have to bring the numbers, I have to bring the revenue. There are various ways to bring the revenue and make an impact. And you do not only have to follow the TRP model. And I think going forward, you said that this is the lowest phase in Indian television, the darkest chapter, whatever you used. I think this is a churn, and it's for the better, because there will be a time when the viewer will demand value for his time and money. And it's very easy to have, I know Kishore just said that, you have to feature people want to listen. We don't want to be a chai ki dukaan, someone else wants to be a chai ki dukaan. You decide what you want to be, and you make a platform accordingly. But I think news anchors cannot be actors. I think that's a slippery slope. When we try to be very dramatic, then some of us do not know where to draw the line, and we're seeing examples of that in the industry. I don't want to name names, but it's extremely unfortunate, because that casts a shadow on everything that all of us do. And all of us have done some great work in our times. We've made mistakes, we've done good stories as well. And and I think now primetime news is also decided, the agenda is decided by what happens on social media, which is another echo chamber. So we see what's happening, and we pick up that story. And as editors, we are some of us are not applying our minds to what should be done. It's very easy to have talking heads, and I'm not casting it. I'm not sort of. This is not about anyone in particular, but I'm just saying that it's. To create content, it needs that much more effort and investment from the organization, investment in terms of time and effort, which because the model is such, a lot of us are just not working towards that anymore. I think as editors, some of us need to focus on what really is news. And Rahul, Kamal, you have so many followers. You're all influencers in your own right. So if some of the top editors in this country decided that this is what the format should be, and we are not the Kapil Sharma show, and we are not Big Boss, and we are news channels, and you come to us only to watch news, then we set the standard. There was a time when a lot of people watched that kind of news. We've started serving them something else, and we cannot say that just because people want to watch this, we do this. That's where I stand. I don't mean to upset anyone, but I think...
Palki, I can see Rahul frowning at me, Rahul Kanwal kind of looking at me questioning.
I don't see him frowning, to be fair to him, but I think it's a churn. I think it's a churn, and we'll all figure out where we stand and what we really want to do. And we're all learning in the process.
Yeah, but we have a chance now. It's paused. There's no TRPs.
No, but Anil, I think you have to recognize that change is... Look, first of all, I wasn't speaking about myself. Totally. I wasn't speaking about what we do in my newsroom. I worked in 4 different channels, actually. And I can tell you that every channel has, from the management side, an expectation of the editor. Okay, there are different expectations. And what I was trying to bring to this table, if you really want to begin the churn, is to begin to be honest. I'm not saying I'm dishonest. I'm not saying that when we covered X story, we did it because we were thinking of wagging the TRP dog. No, that is, of course, a thing that is always in the back of your mind. But what is TRP at the end of the day? Where does it come from? It comes from the viewer, as Palki has said. And I think she made a good point that the viewer also wants something. And there are, of course, expectations of television channels from the viewers, and you have to cater to a broad audience. I think Kishore made that point that, look, there are people watching. You're not a newspaper that can cut yourself up into 8 different halves. The sports page is, linearly put out at the back, and then you have this and that in the front page. It's a pastiche of 10 stories. You're a very, very unifocal single screen medium. So for one half an hour, if you're doing a particular show, that is the show that you're doing on that particular subject. Now everyone did all the stories about the economy, fragmenting, about, the COVID, and you got experts to talk about it. What I'm trying to tell you here is that if you've chosen to do a story, of course, you've got to be guided by journalistic principles. You can't make up facts. I don't know if others do it. We don't do it. If there has been investigations done, well, material comes from investigative agencies, you put it out. Now, if the court has a problem with it, they can draw a red line and they can say, look, at the FIR stage, you can't put out X things, or at the charge sheet stage, you can't do this or whatever. They can set a guideline or a red line for you. But as far as we're concerned, when we get inputs from X or Y, we report it, and everyone does that. So it's a pretty organic process, well-accepted process. The point is, and that's very important, when you start skirting the red lines and you decide that, look, you're going to be arbitrary with the facts, that's a whole separate, different conversation. And obviously, that cannot be excused at all. So let's be very, very honest here. We are dealing with a medium that has for long been guided by the TRP tail, and that's why you see the aberrations that you're seeing. Now, are we prepared to create a system which is perhaps more subscription-led, which, to bring Palki and Kishore into it, would then force people to bring out quality, invest in quality, so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality, so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality, so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality, so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality, so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they expect from us in particular genres, and to bring out quality, invest in quality so that you get a subscriber, a long-term viewer that is willing to invest in you. Times Now is a paid channel. A huge chunk of our revenues now comes from subscription, and we're very proud of that fact. So we're not just catering to the lowest common denominator. We're catering to people who invest as stakeholders in Times Now. It's my duty to cater to their needs and their desires for whatever they
Waiting for others to come and correct. You draw your own line, and that line is not drawn in sand, it's drawn in stone, and you decide what you will do and what you won't do. And you can't be very loose about these things that, oh, I'm having to do it, but actually I don't do anything that I don't believe in.
So far, you've been very happy with everything that you've been doing. I mean, I've been a journalist 40 years, and I have made my mistakes, and I have looked at correcting myself. But so you've been happy with almost every story that India Today has done?
Absolutely. That's the point I'm making. That if you don't believe in a story, don't do it. And if you think that you're doing a story, do it because you have the conviction to do the story. And if you have to do too many stories which you don't agree with, then don't do the job. Why? There's no compulsion. What is the compulsion? It's not as if you want to do this job that you'll die of hunger and that you'll be out on the road and the fancy house that we live in will no longer be ours. You should do, I mean, I believe very strongly that every profession should do only what he believes in. And of course,
so you don't believe that the TRP pauses the time to really the way we are doing news?
Okay, so TRPs matter, but maybe if I put up Sunny Leone and she did a striptease, you'll get the highest TRPs. I mean, so
but certain channels did do that, Rahul. There was a time when certain channels did do the wrestling mania shows at 9 o'clock. There were so many channels that did all sorts of strange Saas Bahu serials and all sorts of things. You know, that's not journalism.
It has animated shows across, which it runs.
I mean, I don't know why they were doing it. Maybe they believed in Saas Bahu regression, where you typecast women in a particular way. Maybe that's what, you know, certain editors really put their weight behind. Maybe that was good journalism and nothing to really sort of be frightfully, how should I put it, squeamish about. I think that's great. If you believe that things are right, then, you know, that's great. That's good. That's nice to know. At least there's someone amongst us who believes there's nothing wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I come in?
Based for a lot of optimism.
Right.
Yeah, Bolo Kishore.
Yeah, I mean, what I fail to, I know, I'm sorry, I don't agree with this thing by TV media, sare TV news media ko ek jaisa hona chahiye. Why should WION be like India Today? Why should Times Now be like India Today? Why should Times Now be like WION? Why should News 18 be like anybody? I mean, see, print में तो ऐसे नहीं बोलता कि पंजाब केसरी ऐसा है, तुम हिंदू जैसे क्यों नहीं हो गए? I mean, हम लोग अलग-अलग audiences को cater कर रहे हैं. मेरा ऑडियंस हिंदी स्पीकिंग मार्केट से है. So ये क्या है कि जर्नलिज्म ऐसे होता है, दिस इज इट. आप सब लोग इससे अलग हट गए हैं. लेट्स गेट बैक टू इट. लोग मिलकर काम करते हैं कि जर्नलिज्म जैसा ऐसा होना चाहिए था, ऐसे ही आ जाए. Why?
ये हम समझ गए, लेकिन आपको नहीं लगता है कि जो टीआरपी अभी नहीं हो रही है तो हम लोग पत्रकारी कर सकते हैं, असली पत्रकारी?
नहीं, नकली नहीं कर रहे थे उससे पहले.
हाँ.
नकली करने की उसके बाद.
मुझे
कौन कह रहा है
कौन
नकली कर रहे हैं?
Come on. It's see okay. हाँ, you're right in one respect कि हाँ there are जैसे कि एक आपका highly rated show है, तो TRP में ratings आपकी अच्छी आती हैं, you get good ratings there, and at that time a news comes in which you feel कि we should drop this show today and do this, but then उस time producer का pressure आता है, सर मेरा highly rated show है, आप क्यों गिरा रहे हो, आप इससे बात कर लेना. Maybe आज तो TRP नहीं है तो हम लोग ठीक है यार, इस हफ्ते तो TRP नहीं आ रही ना, होल्ड ऑन, मैं ये कर दूंगा. ये छोटे डिसीजंस हो सकते हैं, बट ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि पहले बिल्कुल हम कुछ और कर रहे थे, अब कुछ और करने बैठ जाएंगे.
एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं करोगे? विल यू एक्सपेरिमेंट फॉर आई एम सेइंग ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड? क्या हम कर सकते हैं?
आई थिंक पीपल आर एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग. आई थिंक पीपल आर एक्सपेरिमेंट का जजमेंट पैरामीटर क्या होगा? आप कह रहे हैं ना रेटिंग्स नहीं है, नहीं कुछ, किसी चीज से तो जज कर रहे हैं ना.
हाँ जी.
इवेंचुअली उसके बाद आपको जजमेंट का पैरामीटर ये कि प्रिंट मीडियम कैसा होता है वैसा पैरामीटर होना चाहिए क्या? I also feel कि all television channels come bundled into our homes, into the screen. तो सबके पास अपने व्यूज होते हैं, because 25 चैनल आ रहे हैं तो सब पे व्यू देख रहे हैं. ये कैसा है, ये ऐसा है, वैसे. पेपर्स एंड मैगजीन्स आप इतनी सारी तो मंगाते नहीं है. You choose what you want to read. तो उसमें आपको लगता है कि no, I am Times of India reader or Hindustan Times reader or Hindu reader or Navbharat Times reader or Bhaskar reader. उनको नहीं बोलते यार भास्कर ने इतना खराब लिखा, पंजाब केसरी ने ऐसा लिखा. हमको बोलते हैं कि ये देखो वो चैनल कैसा कर रहा है, वो कैसा कर, because you get all of them. जजमेंट अगर हमारी किस पैरामीटर पर हमको जज किया जाएगा? ऐसे कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में जर्नलिस्ट बैठ के हम इलेक्शन तरीके से जज करेंगे या अपने टीआरपी रेटिंग से जज करेंगे? I agree with Rahul. What Rahul Kamal is saying here. Let's हम वो करेंगे which we are convinced about, we are happy about.
So currently,
and we make mistakes. All of us do.
Yeah. So currently we are kind of, we have two differing points of view, and I'm running out of time. I wish I had another hour. We could go on. I could go deeper into this, but I have my next session to get onto. So we have 2 points of view. One point of view saying industry needs to re-examine itself. The other point of saying we're already re-examining ourselves. So whichever one does it better going forward will be the true winner. Thank you very much, all of you, for being a part of this. And thank you for your time. Appreciate your honest frankness of your opinions over here. Thank you very much. And have a good day and all the best to us as journalists. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Yeah. MK, are you there? MK.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. So where exactly are you right now?
How does it matter? I'm on digital, so geography neutral.
You seem to be in a very beachy place. I'm very happy. In a beachy place.
Warsaw is a very beachy place.
Okay, Bhupendra was in Uttarakhand. Bhupendra was in Uttarakhand. You're in a beachy place. I won't get in where. I'm hoping it's at Bali. That would be a great thing. But coming back again. So you heard the journalist just now speaking.
Yeah.
There's a school of thought that, pressure from management, the pressure of TRPs. Your perspective as a management guy, as somebody who's management most successful networks in the country.
Yeah, I think, this is my philosophy when I've been running news channels for the last 6 years and some entertainment channels. And before that, I have basically made a career in television since 2005, managing non-mainstream channels, as in I have not run a GEC. I have run everything else. I've run, youth. I've run movies. I've run English entertainment, news, children, music. All these are what we collectively call the so-called niche genres. I can, go on record on this. You can sort of probably sort of tweet this. Niche channels ratings do not matter. Niche channel ratings do not matter. I said this when I was running Bindas. In fact, Ronnie and me sometimes used to have, backroom arguments saying that MK, you are making these statements in front of content people that ratings don't matter. We have been sort of pushing them for ratings, and this. Do you really, think it will go off well? And I did 4 years with Bindas, and I think Bindas, did very, very well in that period. Uh, Children's channel, of course, there was some ratings, indication, but again, children genre did not, really have too many advertisers because there are a lot of restrictions. So fundamentally, it was again a non-ad-led thing. And then when I came to Times, running your movie channels and the news channels, you can ask my editors, whether it is Rahul Navika or when Arnab was here, him or Vivek, who runs the English channels. I have never, ever, never, ever in any week called any of them in the last 6 years saying, why is the rating going up or why is the rating going down? Yes, I do participate in the groups, the WhatsApp groups or the Teams groups or the whatever groups that we have nowadays, email groups, in congratulating, but not a single time will anybody have seen a time when MK Ananda said, your time spent is going down, pull up your socks. No, I don't believe ratings are the be all and end all of right content. I completely, agree with the statistical process of whether it was TAM or BARC. I genuinely, believe in that. And I think the sampling processes, of course, there is corruption. There are process lapses everywhere. I mean, that can happen anywhere. It's like, our Bombay water supply or railway. I mean, it works. Let us say 99% of the times it works. So I don't have a problem with the process. But I think, going only by how many people are watching you in a country which is so rapidly, going down the bottom towards the bottom of the pyramid in terms of, lighting up, whether it is electrification, whether it is data, digital, whether it is cable connections. If you go numbers, the temptation is always going to be going after the lowest common denominator. And it's very easy in today's day and age when you're looking at your so-called NCCS classification, where a certain number of appliances at home, irrespective of whether you have bought it in second hand or on on installments or outright, you're making everybody the same. I mean, people, an SEC A2 or even an A1 is not very difficult to sort of qualify in that situation, and therefore, and content sensibilities are so much different going down the the population pyramid, and a country in flux, a society in flux. It is so much easier to get great numbers by continuously lowering the focus from the top of the pyramid towards the bottom of the pyramid. I think at Times Network, the brand itself, if you see my logo, the top of the Times, there is a square which is actually an invert. It's a pyramid, and there's a small red dot on top of it. We focus on top of the pyramid, and that is something that we believe we need to cater to. And yes, we are numbers. We are numbers sensitive in the sense that we believe that our ratings, our reach, our penetration has to be high. But time spent, absolutely, I do not consider time spent as a motivating, inspiring, guiding, driving factor at all. Reach, yes, because reach means I'm able to get put pressure on my team to ensure that the content is not just seen in Bombay, but also seen in Udaipur. If it is seen in Udaipur, then it is also seen in Chittorgarh. If it is seen in Chittorgarh, and then in a small town, small village or part of the Chittorgarh district. So I think reach is a very good driver because it helps us drive. If you know, we went from about 300 plus headers when I joined the group to 3,000 plus. In just 2 years. The idea is to light up for the sake of lighting up. And I think monetization by ad sales is a huge, steroid that we are all sort of put this whole business on, this patient on. I think you need to get them out of it, and I think more number of people would mean the potential of getting subscription. I'm a huge advocate for subscription, and when you go subscription route, there is no need for you to sort of be ratings led. I have presided over in this company where I am here. The current subscription number in 6 years is 10 times the subscription revenue, 10 times, Anil, that what we were having in 2014 when I came in. And we are today, quite positive. I mean, because, subscription also has the whole, packaging cost, marketing costs. In the earlier times, it used to be called carriage costs, etc. So we actually have to benchmark ourselves on what is called as net distribution income, or NDI. When you're looking at NDI, in fact, you should start looking at the top of the pyramid more, because then you can charge a channel 50 paisa, 1 rupee, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, depending upon the quality of your channel. So I think, that is the other thing. I have routinely, whether it was UTV again, UTV and then Disney, in those 4 years, we drove the subscription numbers, very aggressively. And here, I think this has been my, greatest happiness that, we've gone up by about 9 times this year, 9 times over 2014 numbers, with a very large number coming. In fact, we are, I think 54% of our revenue in 2021, FY21 is coming from subscription. We are not ratings led. In fact, if you really ask me, the total ratings led business in my total top line is less than 25%.
It was higher, much higher earlier. It was
It was 90% for sub-led. 90%. It was 90%. 90%. It was we didn't have any branded content or so-called content-led, premium-led ground businesses or digital earlier, and we were 92% ad-led, which was entirely TRPs led, and 8% subscription-led. Today we are 54% subscription-led. Rest of it, about 28% is, about 14% is digital, and 15% is branded content. So we are only about 20% TRPs led, of which again, mind you, Times Now TRP business is to me less than 10% of my total TRP led business, which means, to be honest with you, TSV does not matter to me at all. It does not bother me. I mean, I'm very happy when they do well, but I'm not one of those managers. Rahul, if he's still on the call, can confirm that. We do not have any conversations on why is your ratings down or up. No, we don't.
So I hear you. Subscription is going higher and higher up for you. You see a scenario where, Times Now will convert its dependency to 90%, rather than 52% on subscription
network. No,
Yeah.
I don't think that will happen. No, because our audiences are very premium, and our audiences are premium, and our reach management is very, very aggressive. Therefore, at any point of time, I can assure you, 40 to 45% of the top-end audiences in this country, you cannot meet them unless you operate through Times Network's English movies and English news channels. So I think we may not pursue them, for the sake of survival, but that's a very, very solid audience that is for us to, monetize, and it is also a very solid audience that advertisers cannot do without. And therefore, I don't think it's going to go below the mark that we are currently at. In fact, it might go a little higher, because I'm talking about this as 22% this year because of ad sales being lower. I think it will settle at approximately, ad sales to subscription will settle at approximately 40-60, which includes, the 40 will include digital.
I get it, yeah. So
Yeah.
what about the news channels? The news cluster that we have?
Yeah.
Bloomberg is a paid service. Of course, it's a terminal service, but across the world, business news channels and news channels. In India, we have this phenomenon where we have high dependency on advertising.
I don't think, Anil, that there is that higher dependency as it is seen from the outside for English and business news, for business news channels, not English. English there is. Because I think CNBC has a commendable, admirable, and I'm something to be envious about subscription base, a very solid subscription base. It's a fantastic brand. Of course, they also have great ad sales. But I think they have a very good branded content business, which is not TRPs like. So I would, from the outside, maybe you can confirm this from Rahul Joshi. I don't think it will be more than 30-35% of their business would be FCT. And so which means 65% is anyways not ratings led. Even that 35% of theirs, which is FCT led, where they are competing with us because there is no other player in that market. That is a TRP situation. If you see in the last 5 years, 6 years that I've been managing, there have been times that ET now has been 35-40% and they have been 60-65%, sometimes 70%. There have been times where have been 50-50, and there have been times where we have been 35, we have been 60%, 65%, they have been 30-35%. I don't think it is really bothered both of us that the ratings have swung between that, because advertisers have evaluated us on the intrinsic brand strength, on the popularity with the constituencies, which are the important constituencies, which is the BFSI and the stocks, the market circles, the financial market circles, and they have the ER, the actual number that you can actually look at as what really would determine or what would really give you an idea of what is the brand strength, comparative brand strength, is evident in the year. I mean, CNBC's ER versus ET Now's ER, CNBC's even now, even though their ratings in many occasions in the last 1.5 years during the NTO, post the NTO, their ratings have been lower than us, but their ER is higher than us. So I don't think the advertiser is so concerned about the ER, so concerned about the ratings of CNBC. They give them a higher rating. The same thing is the situation with NDTV. NDTV's ratings have been down in the dumps for ages, but they still are today the number 3 channel when it comes to ERs. So I don't think these categories are that yeah.
So should then why this manic race to get I don't know why this manic race to do shows which attract which are dramatic, which are attracting, which are not news per se as we perceive them.
I think 2 reasons. One, gamification of anything interests the reptilian brain in us. Anything, if we were to sort of say the number of people who are viewing the show, the interviews of your summit today, and you're going to give this as comparative below here, saying that the interview done by XYZ had 500 viewers, and you are now at 400 and 40 viewers. You and I would do something if we could to try and bring it up, right? So that is the instinct of the human being. The ones who are running the show, which is basically the marketing distribution guys from the infrastructure point of view, and the anchors and editors from the content point of view. There is a gamification, because when you're saying that I'm getting a weekly number in which I'm higher or lower, I don't know whether you've seen the movie Anchorman. There is a continuous, pushing and pulling of people, sort of really, people passing each other in social and making snide remarks that I'm bigger than you. So that is a very important thing, and I think all of us as practitioners, at some point or the other, are responsible for falling prey to the gamification of it and feeling, mine is bigger than yours in terms of the number is something that is the whole ego trip that is there. The second is, as I said, this is a market in a very, very high stage, high development phase. I mean, we are probably, if you were a human being at a market level, India is in the range of, I think, an 8-year-old or an 8 to 10-year-old who's like, growing so fast. And India is very underserved in terms of various things. And there is a lot of entrepreneurial energy which is getting released in various circles. And I think this, because this is TRPs, because this is television, because this is show business to some extent, whether it is GECs or news, this gets attention. I'm sure the same situation is happening in the bikes industry, in the chemicals industry, in the hotel industry, in all the industries, because there are new entrepreneurs who are coming. And when new entrepreneurs come in, the first thing, if I and you were to go out and launch a channel, the first thing that you and I will try to sort of, benchmark is the number, because the number is the easiest to get. So you want to become the number one, become a noted English channel, you benchmark yourselves against Times Now. You want to become a noted Hindi channel, you benchmark yourselves against Aaj or ABP or Z News. I'm talking about because English News has a bunch of 4 or 5 of them who are the big ones. So So if I was, the latest launch, I mean, Barun did a fantastic job. What would he do? The first thing that I would do if I was to launch that was to try and get to the numbers first, because brand is built over a period of time with activities, with ground, with standing up for causes. I mean, I'm sure all of them will do that, but they don't have the luxury of the number of quarters, number of years that Times Now or Aaj Tak has had. So it is easiest for you to break into the noticeable set by getting the numbers, and therefore, in an industry where there are many launches coming up, because I mean, today we are looking at the top 5 as legacy players. I'm talking about the Hindi news space, and the next 2 as challengers. But 10 years back, even an India TV would have been a challenger, right? I mean, you had Aaj Tak and you had ABP, and maybe you had NDTV and News 18. I mean, I'm sorry, this is with all apologies in advance to any of the players that I'm not taking. My point is, India TV was a disruptor at a point of time. So they will have to do activities and content and distribution to ensure that they very quickly climb up, because it is a logical and easy way to convince the consumer or the viewers or the advertisers or the general society at large that we are as good as them because our numbers are as good. And there, in a current situation, it is easy to fall prey to temptation and do content which, like Rahul was saying, Saas Bahu and Sajish. I mean, it's done. It's definitely not journalism. I'm sure the editor who did it himself, if you go and ask him today, he'll say, yeah, I mean, but that was required because I was at that time trying to bring my channel to number 5 or number 3 or number 2 or whatever that he was trying to do. So I think these are the 2 reasons. One is gamification. 2 is, market in a flux, and therefore new entrants find it easier to sort of use numbers to make the argument that we are as good.
I get it. Yeah. So what does it behoove what do you call the legacy players? This opportunity of this TRP break. What should we do during this phase? I mean, what is needed to be done? How are we? How are the deals going to continue happening?
I think the one is that the current break that we have is on account of, it's not a break because of content quality at all. There is definitely, if what we were doing was continuing and the TRP scam had not been unearthed, we wouldn't have a break. So I don't think we should connect the 2. At least I wouldn't connect it. I don't think between Rahul, Navika, Vinay, Nikunj and me, we've had any conversation that is a ratings break now, we can do content that we want, and because I believe genuinely that we are already serving the viewer, and the viewer as we conceive the viewer to be, and a product that we conceive to be, quite honestly and sincerely. So I don't think a player like us, who has not really been besotted by the ratings from a TSV point of view. You can Anil, you can look at we have had a big history, 2017, 18, 16, 17, because we lost our prime asset, our greatest center figure on Times Now, and then we sort of managed that huge loss, and then we also sort of defended ourselves against almost sibling rivalry kind of conflict, because you had a bunch of people who were practically mirror image of ourselves without the brand. And if you see, if you can do an analysis of it, you will see that we have never, ever been time spent, focused. We have always been reach focused. We did things like opening up the morning for Hindi to increase the funnel. We did things like the landing pages. We did things like opening up a lot of smaller, MSOs to ensure that more and more people were drawn into Times Now. We've always gone a reach route. So when we are not time spent focused, I assure you, none of us are, at the management level, or at the, I wouldn't call us managers, because as owners and custodians of brands like these, we cannot say that, we are business CEOs. We need to also be content focused and responsible to the viewer. Similarly, people like Rahul and Navika and Nikunj and Vinay, these are also people who are not just content focused, they're also sort of brand and business focused. We have not been culpable of, the kind of basal or or lower end kind of content that generally the industry is currently being made, being ridiculed for. So
Yeah,
I
so
don't think.
speaking to a
Yeah.
journalist, he says, I don't like calling myself a reporter anymore, or a journalist, because of the bad name. And so according to you, this is
No. I think that is wrong, because I think social media has empowered, just like all technology empowers. All technology empowers. But technological empowerment also comes with one very bad or negative impact in certain places. Like technology empowers a lame person to walk, let us say. Technology empowers a partially blind person to get restored vision. Technology empowers us to do a lot of things. Technology empowers us to fly when we are not built to fly. Technology empowers the idiot to become an expert also. Okay, technology empowers the idiot to become an expert, and that is great. I mean, because technology is able to bridge the gap between formal education. Like today you and I can actually Google and get to know what is the best stents possible, and what are the care to be taken if you have a multi-stent angioplasty, and what are the medicines to take, and what are the reactions to that medicine, etc., etc., etc. So, I mean, you and I, cardiologist idiots, are capable of becoming way better than the 1975 cardiologist idiot. However, you know what is happening also? Out of 100 people like you and me, there are at least 10 people who break ranks and go and argue with the cardiologist. Many of us may not. So when I go for an angioplasty, for an example, I know these things. I don't argue with the guy. But there would be 10 to 15% of those people who say, "Arey, मैं गया था, वो डॉक्टर से मैंने ऐसा बात किया, डॉक्टर को पता नहीं था, डॉक्टर गधा है." So, and some of them come back and tweet. So I think technology empowered idiots are dissing the experts in all fields. And I'm giving you this example of cardiologists because, we are all idiots in that space. Journalism is the same situation. Reporters and journalists are experts. They are people who have given their lives to it. They could have done businesses. They could have, done. They could have become an artist. They could have become XYZ. They have decided to choose the difficult task of being journalists and reporters. It is not an easy job to be a journalist and a reporter. They have given their life to it. And after 20 years of working as a journalist, down comes MK Anand and Anil here, and we are saying that what are they ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करना चाहिए, ऐसे नहीं वैसे करना चाहिए, और ये जा रहा है सोशल मीडिया पे, सोशल मीडिया से जा रहा है जनरल मीडिया पे, और वो हम सब ने मिलकर इसको ऐसे बनाया है कि we are all now saying that journalists are idiots. All the journalists are idiots. No, it's like saying all the dentists are idiots, all the cardiologists are idiots, all the politicians are also idiots. And politicians are the most biggest idiots. So, try being a politician for one term, you will realize what it is. So this whole dissing the expert is a characteristic of our times. And I think the journalists should take heart, like all of us take heart. I mean, we are in professions, you and me, Anil, not you, you are still a content person, who are way back in the back room. So we don't get, trolled. But the people who are out there with their faces, they get trolled for everything that the company does. Now, they have to sort of, go out of that. And ultimately, that's an echo chamber. The whole social media thing is an echo chamber. There's a false charge against me right now for sexual harassment from a employee who was taken out for 3 years of non-performance. Now you know what? First week, trolls started because she started and somebody started, and then one media company called Huffington Post, even though they got all the details from us, chose to only pick up couple of paras from our entire response, and it became painful. But in 3 days, my wife told me, stop looking at Twitter, stop looking at social media. I don't even know what is happening today. Yes, there is a cell which is monitoring that. We are sort of looking at our legal remedies, etc. But for me, that was a great learning. And I think smart reporters, whether it is Rahul or Arnab or Navika, etc., these are people who are not directed by the social media at all. So I think if you don't get directed by social media, all reporters who are genuinely out there working do not feel that it's bad to be a reporter at all.
I understand. So, in your opinion, news media doesn't need fixing now.
News media needs the fixing that we require right now is something that I've been at least subject to in the last 4 years since 2017, and that is the fixing of the back end of the measurement mechanics. I wouldn't call the current management of BARC is I think very, very good. Sunil is really trying to bring, a lot of sense to the process. But, this is after all India. There are too many people who have aspirations to, get rich too fast, and can't blame them because they're seeing, shining lights around all of them. Some of them use corrupt means to sort of break ranks and, whether it is inside bark or outside bark. And that is something that we've been seeing. And that, of course, is used by the Johnny come latelys to sort of get a shortcuts to get to the numbers. And it's available and it's cheap. So why not? I mean, people like us have all the money. So we spend crores of rupees. I mean, tens of crores of rupees, I would say, 20s of crores of rupees on landing pages. They don't. So it's possible that they get tempted. Their managers get tempted. And that is definitely not something that is acceptable. That's like saying that, the exam system is not acceptable if cheating is rampantly allowed. For 4 years, Anil, I have been crying hoarse, and multiple times we've got some relief, but multiple times we've seen that it just doesn't work. There is corruption, there is panel tampering happening, and this is a fantastic occasion for the entire system to put the house in order. And I'm not saying bark may by itself, and I'm saying it as myself. I'm not saying it as an NBA board director here. So NBA's views are different from, maybe different from what I'm going to say. I think the processes are in a state of improvement, and the continuous state of improvement. And I'm sure it has been in a continuous state of improvement since bark has been formed in 2015 under Partho. But under Sunil, and because there is this, there has been a lot of dinner. I think it is a exponential J curve of improvements have happened. So will this 3 months increase improvements on inside bark? I am not very sure, because he's already doing whatever can be done, and he'll continue to do irrespective of this. However, externally, the Hansa system, the ground system, the need to have some kind of a legal remedy, Anil, we have found out instances of tampering, and it was not a criminal offense. So it was not getting registered as a police complaint. Now, for the first time, it has got registered as a police complaint for whatever reason. We hope that this becomes a deterrent for people to do it, because I'm sure the same strategy can be used to convert this into a criminal complaint, because a criminal complaint deters on the ground. Because actually, it is done by those small, the pseudo juvenile underworld operators, who are actually, making these in lakhs of rupees. Can you believe it? And this is hundreds of crores of rupees are being leveraged with thousands and lakhs. And I'm told 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees per day, per month is what they pay. I mean, it is ridiculous, the amount of money we spend up in marketing and distribution and landing pages. And so, against that, this is a small.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to understand. So the industries continue to be fissioned in the middle, one bunch, the NBA bunch and the non-NBA bunch. Doesn't that need fixing in some way?
There is no non-NBA bunch and NBA bunch. I mean, all the leading broadcasters in the space are in NBA, and NBA is a 15-plus-year-old organization.
Sure, I get that. Yeah, but what's
so
happening?
There is one renegade member who did not probably feel comfortable, being not part of the board, for instance, in the first year of his operation, and decided to go and start his own operation. I mean, that cannot be said as the fission of the industry. One member and a few small members from here and there. That doesn't sort of make it a fission at all. I mean, it is I hope they sort of also come and join us back, but I don't think that can be called a fission. I wouldn't even consider it a fission.
So fantastic. So advertising revenues are coming up. Festival season is coming up. There is no ratings. Conversations are going on well with advertisers, or some of them.
Yeah. No, I think advertising, in fact, in our case, and I think I've spoken to people in the industry, all of us are seeing October numbers are higher than last year's October numbers. Maybe it's a pent-up demand, but getting to last year's numbers and higher than last year's numbers is a huge. I mean, you can also say that last year was not so good. Remember that. Absolutely. We were in the middle of the economic downturn already last year. But, year to year, October is registering a growth for our news business. And that's, I think, an indicator of, the advertisers are, reposing faith in the category, and all is well. I don't think numbers really matter. I mean, whoever cares to listen to me, I keep telling my colleagues in the industry, let us all start pushing subscription Let us stop getting besotted by TRPs, and life will be a lot better.
Thank you very much. On that note, good afternoon to you and have a good time wherever you are, and hope to catch you sometime soon.
I'm in Goa, Anil.
Okay, have a good time. Bless you.
Thank you.